Hello everybody, my name is Aiden and welcome back to another video. Ladies and gentlemen, today we are going to be talking about something that actually happened over the course of when I was sick, and I actually missed this. Until this day, I didn't know this happened until about 20 minutes ago. Apparently, there are reports going around that the Chicago Bulls extended general manager Marc Eversley extended his contract essentially. So he's going to be our general manager for the Chicago Bulls for the foreseeable future. Now, this might not necessarily be the longest video, but I do want to discuss what I think about this situation and ultimately whether or not it was the right move or not. But before we get any further, if you like the video and you want to see more from me, drop a like, drop a follow, and or subscribe if you are new. And let me know in the comments below your thoughts about the Chicago Bulls and Marc Eversley. And do you see this being the right move, or do you see this being a mistake that the Bulls have made? Now, I don't necessarily believe the Bulls have made this official, but at the same time, the Bulls don't seem to make anything official. We still don't know about the Billy Donovan's secret extension. We're just going out on a limb here and assuming this is going to be true. What do we know about Marc Eversley? Well, unfortunately, it's very hard to decipher whether or not this is the correct move or not, because we are not part of the management team for the Chicago Bulls, so we don't necessarily know how good of a job he is doing or not. You can only go based on team results and players and situations of that nature, and ultimately you'd have to treat him in the same way you would treat a Notorious Carnosaurus. And in that regard, it's been very up and down. A good start to his Bulls tenure, bringing in guys like DeMar DeRozan. He was personally responsible for bringing in DeMar DeRozan, and even though the Bulls as a team have not been very successful, that signing has been very successful, and ultimately that's a chance for Marc Eversley, I guess, to have a player there that could still continue to be here, and he will be successful at least individually, and that is something that he can have under his cap for future teams he goes to and for the Bulls in the future as well. So that's a really positive thing in that regard. He was personally responsible for bringing in DeMar DeRozan. He went the extra mile to bring in DeMar DeRozan. He does have good connections, because I do believe he used to work for Nike. That is very interesting and intriguing as well. So a lot of positives, but based on team success, you'd have to say that's a bit of a letdown. One playoff series in the course of 3 seasons. We've been very mediocre, playing tournament team for 2 of them. It's not been great, and you do expect the Bulls to make changes. But again, we've done this extension now, so is this the right thing to do? I don't necessarily know what his previous contract was on, but I'm assuming you don't necessarily, even if it's a management type of situation, you don't want anyone to go on their final year of their contract, because then you get into a very tough situation of security and whether or not you can, keep this individual for future years. You also have to deal with potential other teams coming in that could potentially steal Marc Eversley away. We recently heard about the Detroit Pistons role that Marc Eversley was interested in. They did go in a different direction, but there are a lot of teams. Even Charlotte at one point was interested in Marc Eversley. So keeping him for multiple years, that hopefully can take other teams away from this situation, and it's up to the Bulls. You don't want to lose someone that's potentially really good for you, and you lose them because you were irresponsible with the contract, or you were irresponsible with that situation, and Marc Eversley went to go to a better destination or a better opportunity elsewhere, or since he felt like his job security wasn't there, he went somewhere where he felt like he could have better job security. So in that regard, I think this is a good move for the Chicago Bulls. You always want to be responsible in your financial situations. You always want to make sure people feel valued in their role, especially if they are valuable in their role. So if the Bulls feel like Marc Eversley is valuable, he makes all the right decisions, and he's someone that can help this Bulls team into the future with his connections and with his ability to run a team as a general manager, then this is the right thing to do, and they've done a great job in keeping him around. But if he is the wrong choice, if he's someone that hasn't done a great job, if he's someone that is a liability in that position, then this makes no sense to me. But ultimately, look, we don't necessarily know, because I still feel like it's too early, but we can't pretend that everything the Bulls do is going to be the right decision. This is a lesson a lot of Bulls fans had to learn with the old regime that we had, with Paxson, the Gar Paxson situation, that ownership group and that management group. You can't expect everything they do to be right. You can't, again, it took years upon years upon years for the Bulls to suffer in that situation before we made different decisions and we had to go with a new regime. So, look, it's still too early for me personally. I know people are going to jump to conclusions and say Marc Eversley does nothing or Marc Eversley isn't good enough. And there might be some on the other side saying Marc Eversley is the right choice for the Bulls and we should be keeping someone around that we know could be a difference maker. I understand that from both sides, but I personally feel like it's still too early to say. You know, it's been 3 seasons, and we need to see this Bulls team make significant changes for me to really get a different gauge. Because you've seen what this Bulls team can do from the very beginning. Making trades, trying to compete, and a lot of people liked those moves at that time. Hindsight is a beautiful thing, because now we know those moves haven't worked out. So you understand that now. What will they do to change it? Because continuity, in my opinion, is just as much of a responsibility of Marc Eversley as it is with Arturas Karnisovas. Continuity should not be the way to go. But ultimately, the more years you see continuity, the more faith you lose in the management teams. And if you make the changes, well, then we need to assess the changes. So if Marc Eversley is involved with trading Zach LaVine away, or signing a potential free agent, or changing this core and bringing in a new identity, and that works, you have to give the credit to Marc Eversley where it's deserved. But continuity always is going to bring a bitter taste to a lot of people's mouths. So far, that's what we've seen. So that's why I feel like a lot of people are not necessarily too keen on Marc Eversley at the moment. So I would say it's early. I want to see what changes he and the Bulls have to make. And that will probably determine my decision and my feelings on Marc Eversley as a potential, I guess, signing, or I guess as a potential asset for the Chicago Bulls, let's say. Or maybe he is that liability that we do need to get rid of. We'll have to wait and see. But I do value his connections. Again, I love that story of him going the extra mile. To me, is always going to be a great story. I want a general manager that is going to be looking for potential prospects and going the extra mile to bring them into a team. I want a general manager that's going to fly to LA to meet DeMar DeRozan personally, to make sure he avoids going and signing with the Clippers or signing with the Lakers. I want that type of general manager that will do that. I want a general manager that will make a player feel special and make a player feel that they belong and make a player feel like this is the destination that they need to be. Sometimes it'll work out, sometimes it won't work out. But I love that story. It's one of the best stories I've heard from the Chicago Bulls in modern history. And I want to have that general manager here to potentially do that to other prospects. And look, you know, word of mouth is a big thing. DeMar DeRozan could potentially be saying the same thing. Since he had that experience with Marc Eversley and Marc Eversley went the extra mile, DeMar DeRozan will speak to other people about that. He'll speak to the potential free agents like, for example, Paul George. Let's say Paul George wants out of the Clippers. DeMar DeRozan could be in his ear saying, hey, look, we've got a general manager that's willing to go the extra mile for you. You should go and meet with him. And everything in between. Word of mouth is a big thing. Reputation is a big thing. So as long as that reputation is there, there could be some value in Marc Eversley. I'm trying to play devil's advocate on both sides because you can't expect perfection from a signing in this early stages. You just don't know what type of character, what type of person that you have at this point. The Bulls know, fans probably do not. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see how it goes. But that was something that happened over a week ago. I apologize. I didn't make a video about it earlier. I'll be honest, 20 minutes ago, I had no idea Marc Eversley extended his contract. And the Bulls haven't made it official. So we're in another situation where we're keeping it on the wraps, I guess. With that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. Drop a like and a follow and or subscribe if you are new, and I will see you in the next one. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay tuned for more. Take care and peace.